Welcome back, Dama Boots. For today's talk, I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit unusual, in that I usually don't go over this particular scripture. We're going to have some fun. So, we are reading out of the Vairochana Abhisambodhi Sutra, which is one of the classics of Shingon and most esoteric Buddhist literature. Specifically chapter 3, the quelling of obstacles. I'm going to go into exactly why I think that's important today, but for now just bear with me. So, then Vajrapani again questioned the world-honored one Vairochana, uttering these verses. When preparing the ritual site, how does one eliminate obstructors so that they are unable to torment the mantra cultivating practitioner? How does one recite mantras? What results do they produce? When Vajrapani had asked these questions, the honored one Mahavairochana exclaimed, "Excellent Mahasattva, you have done well to speak these words. In keeping with the questions in your mind, I shall now reveal everything. Obstructors are born from one's own mind in accordance with past avarice. In order to remove their cause, one thinks on the Bodhi mind, which is well removed from a false differentiation born from the mind and thought. And by recollecting the Bodhi mind, the practitioner will be free from faults. One should always think in one's mind of the Mahasattva Achala and bind his mystic seal, whereby one will be able to remove all obstructions." Right? And so the reason that I was bringing this up is because there are a lot of obstacles that we face in life, but there are none so very strong as the ones that we ourselves make. And that's exactly what the Buddha is getting at here, right? So, obstructors are born from one's own mind in accordance with past avarice. This, of course, is a reference to the three poisons, right? Greed, anger, and ignorance. The avarice that we deliberately create, that we, through our own actions, produce. Right? So that's where that comes from, right? We make our world worse when we give in to these three poisons. When we have in the past, well, that creates obstructions for us later. That creates obstacles for us later. Now, we can use those obstacles either to grow, or we can stumble over them and fall on our faces. It's our choice. It really is. Right? But the Buddha also gives us a way to make make sure that we can get over those obstacles, to get past those obstacles, so that those obstacles aren't really in the way, right? So that we can kind of go around them, as it were. Right? So he says, in order to remove their cause, one thinks on the Bodhi mind, which is well removed of false differentiation born from the mind and thought. And by recollecting the Bodhi mind, the practitioner will be free from faults. What in the world is this Bodhi mind? Right? So the Bodhi mind, the Bodhi is, of course, the first part of Bodhisattva. Is also it also comes from the same root as Buddha or Buddha, right? It means the enlightened mind, right? Or Bodhi mind means the enlightened mind, I should say. And the enlightened mind is well removed from false differentiation born from the mind and thought. This is very clear. I mean, this is giving us a chance to practice equanimity, is it not? It's giving us a chance to say, okay, well, we have these obstacles which came from what we've done, but when we reflect, when we keep thinking about the mind of enlightenment, the enlightened mind that we have within us, right? Because that's where that mind is. We have that within us. When we keep that in mind, when we remove those differentiations, when we utilize that Bodhi mind, right? We are freed from faults. Why? Why are we freed from faults in this case? Well, because if we are not differentiating, if we are practicing equanimity, if we are practicing, if we are offering loving kindness to beings, good, bad, neutral, everything, if we are cultivating compassion for all beings regardless, right? If we are having that altruistic joy that we've talked about so much in the past, right? These are the 4 Brahma Viharas. If we have none of these false differentiations, right? Male, female, black, white, red, yellow, green, blue, all types of humans, different castes, we've talked about that as well. When we get rid of all of these false differentiations, when we start looking and saying, okay, well, out there is this world, is this reality, this suchness, this tathata, right? When we start looking out and saying, that's reality, it's not different, there's no differentiation there, there's no, none of these characteristics. When we do that, when we are able to do that, specifically through using the 4 divine abodes, we really get past all of the obstacles that keep us, stuck down, that keep us hindered. We're getting past all of that avarice, we're getting past all of that greed, all of that anger, all of that ignorance. And when we do that, we become Buddhas ourselves, don't we? Eventually. I mean, obviously not right now, because, yeah, go figure. I think what's another piece that's important there is the subtle kind of guidance, the subtle kind of encouragement that the Buddha is giving. Right there at the end, where he says, one should always think in one's mind of the Mahasattva Achala. Achala being, of course, I'm going to come right up and show you guys. This particular guy, and this, I will say that this particular rendition was done by Kenny Delvai, and he did this as a gift to the Sangha. So this is a little piece of dana showing us Achala, right? And for that, I want to thank him. Again, I've thanked him personally, but I also wanted to make sure that as I'm bringing this up, as I'm showing you guys his work, I'm giving him the gratitude that he deserves for putting this together, because it is so unbelievably awesome. And if you guys have a chance to come stop by the chapel and take a look at it, I recommend you do so, because it's super awesome, right? So, one should always think in one's mind of the Mahasattva Achala, this guy, and bind his mystic seal, whereby one will be able to remove all obstructions. Well, the mystic seal I'm not going to give you. I know what it is, I know what it looks like, but it would be wrong of me to do so without making sure that you were properly qualified to know that. So I'm definitely not going to be doing it in this video. We can probably hash it out offline if you really have to know. There are ways of finding it, I guarantee it. But so what the Buddha is saying here is one should always think in one's mind of the Mahasattva Achala. Why? Why is that important? Why is this guy important, right? I mean, we can take a look and see the halo of flames around him. He's sitting on this big old giant rock, right? He's got a sword and a rope, kind of a lasso kind of deal. Why is that so important? Why is this figure so important in removing obstruction, in removing obstacles? I believe that the reason is because this guy, his whole deal, his whole importance, his whole impact, his whole reason for being a part of the Buddhist teaching is that he is immovable. Not so much immovable in that he's never moving, but immovable in the sense that he will always have that compassion. That compassion is never going away, right? So he has a kind of a determined quality to him, right? There's this very determined, and you can see it in his face, because he's super determined. And you can see that determination in him, right? So no matter what the situation, even if he's sitting in literal flames, he's not going to stop being compassionate. He's not going to stop being there with us, right? With the practitioner. He's always going to be there, offering that compassion, showing us how to be compassionate, right? And doing so with that determination. We have to be determined, is what the Buddha is getting at. We have to be determined in cultivating this Bodhi mind, in remembering this Bodhi mind. We have to really want to do this. We have to be very sure and very determined that we're going to be doing this. That we are going to keep this Bodhi mind. We're going to continue to reflect and recall it. Why? Because that's how we make the world a better place. That's how we get rid of the obstacles to our practice, right? That we talked about a little bit earlier. That's how we remove those obstacles, by being determined to have that compassion for everybody, for ourselves. This guy is as much a symbol of what we should be doing as he is a symbol of how to do it, right? How this compassion is done, right? He has that determination, but we also have to have that determination. We have to have that compassion. We have to be firm and fixed in our drive to say, there's suffering going on around me. There's all kinds of suffering going on around me. There's all kinds of suffering here. I'm going to stick with it until that suffering is alleviated, is relieved, until that suffering is, kind of dealt with. I'm going to stick around and do that because I care enough about others to do so. I care enough about doing the right thing, and I have enough compassion that I'm not going to give up until I'm not going to give up until that suffering has been alleviated. It's a message of strength, but it's also a message. It's a message that says we have to look inward for this. We have to find that determination within ourselves, and we have to practice it. We have to practice it in connection with that compassion that we exist in, right? That when we are practicing, when we are keeping the Bodhi mind in our minds, right? When we're keeping that Bodhi mind in our thoughts, we are practicing that compassion. And in that compassion, we are free from fault. We are doing the right thing. And that's what the Buddha is getting at. That's really what it comes down to. Being determined to do the right thing, to be the right person, to help people, to have that compassion, to have that equanimity, right? To have that loving kindness and that altruistic joy. We can do that. And we have to do that. And how do we have to do that? With determination. Right? So that's what the Buddha is getting at. I've kind of gone ridiculously long on the topic that probably should have been like 3 or 4 sentences, but I felt it was important because around us we all the time see a lot of obstacles, don't we? We see a lot of challenges to our practice. We see a lot of, especially in the military, we see a lot of obstacles in the form of, mission this, tasking that. Yeah, those are obstacles. I'm not going to deny it. Those are obstacles. How we get past them, though, is with compassion and determination to do the right thing, to keep doing the right thing. That's how we do that. That's how we get past those obstacles. So, thanks again for listening. And do keep in mind, compassion is why we do this, right? So, out of compassion, I offer a Dhamma Buddha salute. Have a good one.